I know you've given your whole life to taking care of patients. What's your impression of this whole deal?
Well, I thank the gentleman. I've practiced medicine for over 30 years and still have a clinic and see patients from time to time. And, you know, insurance companies are a bee in my bonnet, too. You know, you hear the other side of the aisle talking about how insurance companies are the bad people. They're to blame for all of these problems. Well, I can tell you, insurance companies have been a headache for me. But insurance companies are not the problem here.
No.
They are not the problem. And if you don't like the bureaucracy of an insurance company, which, as you point out very adroitly, you're a customer and you can always change who provides that service, when you get into this, not only is it 10 times worse than any insurance company and far more powerful, but you can't change. There's only one provider. Now, you might say, well, we've got, there'll be a number of insurance companies within the exchange, but these insurance companies will essentially become utilities who will simply take the administrative cost for profit and basically do the work of the federal government.
So in a way, if we sort of step, let's try and get up to 50,000 feet here and take a look at the sort of choices there are before Americans as to how we approach health care. It seems to me that in the beginning, you've got this sort of supply and demand situation. If everybody in America got absolutely the very, very best medical care that you could get, it would just bankrupt the country probably, because you have the supply and demand law says if you don't have to pay anything at all, people are just going to get the very most expensive thing they can do.
Yes.
And so you basically just, the whole country stops if you try to give everybody the very best thing possible. So the question then is, how do you balance supply and demand? And we usually have a thing we call freedom, and we allow individuals to work hard, earn money, and then they spend their money to buy what they want to buy with it. And they can choose whether they want health care or a vacation or food or shoes or a new car. And that's called freedom. And so that's the free market, which allows people to decide how much money they can afford to pay on health care. So that's one way to balance that supply and demand.
Right.
Another thing, the insurance companies then came along and said, yeah, but we can get you some savings. We can reduce the amount of tests and do some other things and negotiate some special rates with a whole pool of doctors that we make a deal with. So we can get you a product that gives you pretty good health care, but it's a discount price product because we're doing some things to drop the cost down. So the insurance company then is one that is starting to take part in that management of the cost of health care. The free market, it's just a matter of you pay in the barrelhead and you go back and forth and figure out what the price is. That's the way we do most things. Yes. You have the insurance company, which is kind of a hybrid, and then you can go to the socialistic model where the government does it all, but the government can't make mathematics change.
No.
And so the problem is the government in other countries that have tried, it's not like we're the only ones doing this. This is Canada and England do this kind of thing.
Yes.
And what they do is, in order to keep the cost down, they keep a big waiting line, so you have to wait a long time to get your health care. And so it's basically a form of rationing. It's kind of a nice rationing because you're told, get in line. We're used to getting in line. And you get in line, and that's how it is that they keep their costs down. The only trouble is, if you're like me, I had cancer. If I have to get in line, that means I got to wait. If I got to wait, it reduces my life expectancy. And that's one of the things that why England has really high cancer rates because of that.
Yes.
But let's just talk about places where this kind of idea has been tried before. Dr. Fleming, as I recall, they tried something like this in Tennessee, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Tennessee had something called TennCare. It, I think, is a similar model to what Massachusetts has today and somewhat similar to what we're looking at here. And what Tennessee found is the thing that's really a reality we all need to understand, and that is that if somebody else is paying the bills, then you're going to have an explosion of cost. And when I'm at town hall meetings, this is the way I like to put it. I say, I have a credit card here, and of course it's a virtual credit card. It has a $10,000 limit on it, and I'm going to give you this credit card, and you can take it to Walmart or Home Depot or any place you want, but only buy the things you need. Nothing that you want, only what you need. And, my question is, what do you need? And, of course, the answer always come back, well, I need a new shotgun because hunting season is coming up, and I need some more camo, and I need all kind of things that I wouldn't pay out of pocket for myself, but if somebody else is paying for it, I'm willing to do it. So if you take that and apply to this, and what I've witnessed over 30 years, when it comes to HMOs, capitated models, traditional insurance, no copays, high copays, what we find is that the more somebody else, a third party or insurance or government, is paying the bills, the more consumption occurs.
Right.
And I'm talking about excessive consumption far beyond anything that's actually needed.
So in other words, what's going on is if you tell people with this system they can have anything they want, you're going to have a tremendous level of demand, which is what we see in the other countries after this gets going, and then you have all the waiting lines because you just can't do that all.
Right, and if I could just add to that, addend that, is in theory, well, that's nice. You can have whatever you want whenever you want it. The problem is that taxpayers ultimately end up paying for this, and at some point you run out of taxpayers. You end up with budget limitations, and so every country that's tried this gets back to the same thing. And the only way to control cost when you have a third payer, a government or whatever, paying the bills is to set some rate limiting steps, and that's basically going to be waiting lines and, of course, rationing. And what I like to tell people is look at Cuba. Cuba has universal health care. It's free. The problem is it's not available. They have one colonoscope in the whole country, and you may need antibiotics, and it may be free. Unfortunately, they don't have any antibiotics.
So it's really nice promise. The trouble is there isn't any backup to the promise. It's just a piece of paper saying you got free health care, but you got what you paid for. That isn't
Right.
any health care at all.